So I made it about 100 pages and I said, actually, I respect myself and I will be quitting this book. I don't think I'm going to keep it, but I don't regret reading it. So this was on sale. All of these books were on sale. It's a whole thing. Hi, I'm Sam, and this is Sam's Shelves. And today we're doing a video that I've been meaning to do for nearly 3 weeks. It is June 17th as I'm filming this, and I have been meaning to film a wrap-up / an ins and outs since the end of May. Like one does for monthly wrap-ups. But life has gotten in the way. And also this brain. This brain has been getting in the way. So I actually have stacks of books that have been sitting on the floor in my living room for weeks. And now it's time to finally get these out of the way. So first, we're going to go through all the books that I read in May. And I'm going to talk about them briefly. And then we'll go through all of the ins and outs. The ins and outs are all the books that I brought into my house and all the books that are leaving my house. Except it won't be all the books that are leaving my house because I did already get rid of some. But here we go. So I have a stack of all the books that I read, and I don't remember the order that I read them in anymore, so we're just going to go through them as they're sitting here, and you'll get an idea. However, I did read one book from the library, which I think is really good for me. I usually prioritize library books a little more than I should, considering how long my physical TBR is. But that's neither here nor there, because the point is I only read one, and it was The Poet Empress, which was something. Overall, I think I actually really liked it, but it's hard to talk about it without spoilers, but basically there is a character in the book who harms themselves in a way, as a means of like self-preservation. I think that it made sense that this character would have a strong sense of self-preservation. I don't know that it made sense that the character did it in the way that they did it, and unfortunately, the scene itself was fairly graphic, and because it just didn't make sense to me for the character, it did kind of put me off for a solid 100 pages. So I'm midway through the book thinking like, ooh, this is actually pretty interesting. And then I spent 100 pages not really into it, just like on guard that something like that was going to happen again. And something like that didn't happen again. It actually ended very well. I thought it was remarkable in that way. And I think that it really played with interesting themes and the idea of like, you know, what does it mean to have compassion for, you know, the things people have suffered, especially when those people go on to cause more suffering. And yeah, I think overall it was a good book. But I can't recommend it without an asterisk because it is, in general, it is fairly graphic, but especially that scene just really, it really put a bad taste in my mouth and really hampered my enjoyment of the book overall. So that was The Poet Empress. I actually don't even know if I'm going to be buying a copy of it because, again, I did think it did some cool things. I don't know. Anyway, that's Poet Empress. Then we have Throwback. Oh, this is the book I DNF'd this month. I hated this book. I did. I thought I would like it. What I think this book is about is a teen girl traveling back in time and being able to witness her mom as a teen girl or something. I think. I don't know. My impression of it is that it's like a cross between Freaky Friday and like Back to the Future. But unfortunately for me, I found these characters to be insufferable and not even in a fun way. I don't need my characters to be likable all the time, but I did need these characters to be likable, and they were not. So I made it about 100 pages, and I said, actually, I respect myself, and I will be quitting this book. And I did. Then we have Last Night at the Telegraph Club, which is a book that I actually thought was also a time travel book. It's not. It's just a historical book. It's set in the past. Like a historical YA, I think. The main character is a teenager who is coming to terms with her queer identity and trying to navigate exploring that during a time when it was very challenging. This is like set in the 50s. And I thought it was really great insight into what the scene might have looked like during that time. Takes place in San Francisco, and the author uses references of queer clubs that kind of existed at the time. And so I think it explored really cool things. All of the books that I read this month were by Asian authors, but this in particular, exploring the identity of a queer Asian person in the 50s in America, is not necessarily a perspective I'd gotten before. So I really enjoyed it, and I will be keeping this book. Then we have Crying in H Mart, another one I really liked. I did expect this book to be about grief, and I think that it was written in a really beautiful way. I think that there's a good amount of self-reflection in this book. What I didn't expect was this also to be a lot about the author's exploration of her biracial identity, which I think is just so cool. And then in addition, for this story to all come back around and for this journey to kind of end as Michelle Zauner is finding success as Japanese breakfast, I thought was just such a nice bow to put on this book. I think, a lot of young people write memoirs, but they don't always have something to say. And I think that this was a great memoir that reflected on exactly what it needed to reflect on. So I really enjoyed it, and I will be keeping it. I also read the ARC for The Secret World of Briar Rose. It is out now. It is out now, but it wasn't in May when I read it. I was so excited to get this arc, and I did really enjoy the book. I will say that I was confused for like a third of this book. I was unclear about what was going on. I did have to reread a lot. I think mostly because this is set in a dream world, and there isn't necessarily like a logic to all of the magic that happens. And so at times it is like confusingly written, at least for me. I maybe for a smarter person it wouldn't be as difficult. But I thought that this really explored depression in a way that felt meaningful and like very grounded in experience. I have seen Cindy Pham is a YouTuber who I have watched for years, and I have seen her talk about how she was inspired to write this book about her experience with depression and feeling not necessarily like she wants to harm herself, but more that she wants to go to sleep and never wake up again. So a Sleeping Beauty retelling is quite an interesting way to explore that feeling. Both of the major characters in this book struggle with depression, and I think that it's done really well. And I will also say that this book has an example of an unlikable character that is still fun to read. So I did enjoy it. I'm happy that I own it, and I'm excited to see what Cindy writes next. Then we have Anna Kay. This is an Anna Karenina retelling, and reading this book made me stop and go, is Cruel Intentions an Anna Karenina retelling also? I don't know the answer to that question. I didn't actually look it up, but I did think it. I did think that, so if you want to Google, go ahead. This book was fine. It was okay. I really liked Anna Kay as a character. I thought her brother was an interesting character. I think overall, I was invested in the characters, and the plot was kind of fine. I mean, the thing is, like, interesting things happened, but was I, like, fully emotionally invested? Not really. No. It was kind of like passively watching a show, but I was, like, interested enough. It's like when a show's playing in the background, but you continue to watch it as you're, I don't know, like, doing a hobby. Continue to play it while you, like, do your diamond painting or something. It was fine. I don't think I'm going to keep it, but I don't regret reading it, so. And then I do remember the last book I read, which was All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. This was so good. I really, really, really like this. I actually spent the first half mostly just being sad, not really angry. But don't worry, I did get angry. I did get there. This is a contemporary YA novel that follows two young people, and they just have so many like cards stacked against them. And so, yeah, for the first half of this book, I just felt sad for these teenagers. I did also end up getting triggered, though, in the second half. Anybody who's been a person of color in a predominantly white institution, area, group, might also get triggered. So just a warning there. Just a warning there. But I thought that this was really great writing. I also didn't necessarily expect there to be a bit of a romance, and I definitely was rooting for these characters to get together. I felt like their relationship felt very lived in, and you could really feel the connection that these two people have, and I love that. I think that that's such beautiful writing and such a testament to Sabaa Tahir's writing. So I really enjoyed this, and I will be keeping it. So of the books that I read off of my physical TBR, I am only getting rid of 2 this month, and I'm keeping 4, which means that I need to find 4 books off of my shelves to get rid of. Which brings me to my ins and outs for the month. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, as I read books off of my physical TBR, I take books off of my read shelves. So basically for every book that I read off my physical TBR and decide I want to keep, I get rid of an older book off of my read shelves that I don't really want anymore. I have been just keeping every book that I own since I was a teenager, and some of those books just aren't that good. So this is a good way for me to kind of weed out the books that aren't actually speaking to me in my collection, have a more cultivated library without it getting too out of hand. And let me tell you, the stacks of books that are surrounding me are already overwhelming, so I'm glad that I've been doing this in chunks. But actually, I'm getting to the point where I've gotten rid of a lot of these books that don't really speak to me anymore. So I don't know how much longer we'll have this tradition, but for now, it stands, and we'll get started with the books that I'm getting rid of. So again, the books we are keeping is a YA fantasy, 2 YA contemporaries, and a memoir. So in exchange, we are getting rid of 2 Gossip Girl novels, this book Glow, which I don't even remember, and apparently it is an arc from 2011. And Gonville, because I actually don't remember reading this memoir, but I know that I have read it. So clearly it did not make a significant impact on me. And these are the 4 books that we are getting rid of for the books that we read in May. But I bought way too many books this month, including 4 books that I've already read. And for bringing in books that I've already read, it's the same policy as if I read them off my physical TBR. So I picked up these 4 books. Reaper at the Gates, Sky Against the Storm, Shadow Wand, and Before I Let Go. And so, in exchange for these books, I have to get rid of 4 more books. So that Reaper at the Gates is actually replacing this Reaper at the Gates, which unfortunately did get water damaged. Poor baby. And Before I Let Go, Among the Enemy, a book I do not remember, and Meg Cabot's The Boy Next Door are the books that I'm getting rid of in exchange for those. But wait, that's not it. I also picked up this copy of The Ones We're Meant to Find, but I already owned The Ones We're Meant to Find. This was on sale. All of these books were on sale. It's a whole thing. This is on sale for $1. It's a signed Owl Crate edition, so I will be swapping this one for the one that I already owned. And that means that I will be unhauling this, The Ones We're Meant to Find, and hopefully it will find a new home. So, another book that I'm unhauling. But wait, there's still more, because that sale where I got this book for $1 and this book for $2 and this book for $1. You get the point. It was a great sale. Shout out to Half Off Books in Fullerton, California. If you're in Southern California, I would recommend Half Off Books. And especially their fire sales, which they do quarterly. Unfortunately for me and my book buying ban, I did pick up 15 books total. You've seen 5 of them, so let me go ahead and run you through the other ones I picked up. We All Fall Down, which is an Illumicrate fantasy. This is the only book that I picked up that I knew nothing about. I just saw it, and I thought, that looks gay, and I want to read it. So, We All Fall Down. Very cute. Then I got the gilded ones. Sleep Like Death. The Barnes & Noble edition of Celestial Monsters. Ugh, so cute. The Jasmine Throne. I've had such a hard time finding this secondhand, but I try to buy most of my books secondhand, so excited to see that. Delicious Monsters. Ugh. Another Barnes & Noble edition. Warrior Girl Unearthed. This is the same author as The Firekeeper's Daughter. This Illumicrate edition of Goddess of the River. Are you kidding me? Come on. The Bone Shard Daughter and the Bone Shard Emperor. So I am bringing in quite a few books this month, and I'm getting rid of quite a few books this month. And actually, because it was such an absurd haul, and again, I am kind of on a book buying ban, I did actually end up unloading about 11 additional books that you can find in my YouTube shorts if you want to see a video of me taking those to little free libraries. So my physical TBR actually didn't increase that much, but I did bring in too many books. Anyway, those are my ins and outs. Those are the books that I read in May. We are halfway through June. I've only finished one book, so who's to say what June's wrap-up's going to look like? But I'm glad that we did this. Thank you so much. If you made it this far, please let me know what you're most excited for me to read, or what you think of any of the books that I talked about today. And, I don't know. I'll see you next time. Bye. Then we have Anna Karenina. So in exchange,